Hi, my name is Clarence Wiggens, and I recently lost my parents. I'm sure they're alive, but they're really lost. I know it sounds crazy, but my dad was a genius inventor, and my mom was a physicist. They were working on a top-secret project for the government on time travel. Then one day, they just disappeared. They were working on this project with Professor McGaff, who's also a brilliant scientist. And now it's just me and the professor. That's him now, playing his clarinet. He loves the clarinet. Professor! Professor! Yes, Clarence, what is it? We need to talk. It's important. Can you come down here? Be right down, Clarence. Now, what can I do for you, my boy? Professor, I'm freaking out. We've got to do something. We just can't sit here and wait for them to come back from God knows where. I couldn't agree with you more, but I'm way ahead of you. Come on, come with me. I want to show you something. Wow, Professor, what's this? That, my boy, is a time and space machine. It's a duplicate to the one your parents got into. Are you suggesting that we're going to go look for them? Let's take a walk back to the house. It's time you started learning some details about what your folks were working on. Okay, Professor, I can't stand the suspense. Please tell me what they were working on. Clarence, tell me how much you know about Pythagoras and the Pythagorean tradition, and have you ever heard of the harmony of the spheres? What does Pythagoras have to do with my parents? Everything. So tell me, Clarence, what do you know about Pythagoras? I know he was a famous ancient Greek mathematician. He came up with the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And actually, I have a cartoon about him that taught me a lot. Let me show it to you. Here we go. My favorite duck.
Come on, let's go to ancient Greece, to the time of Pythagoras, the master egghead of them all.
Pythagoras?
The father of mathematics and music.
Mathematics and music?
Ah, you'll find mathematics in the darndest places. Watch. First, we'll need a string. Stretch it good and tight, plunk it. Now divide in half. Plunk again. You see? It's the same tone, one octave higher. Now divide the next section. And the next. Pythagoras discovered the octave had a ratio of 2 to 1. With simple fractions, he got this. And from this harmony in numbers developed the musical scale of today. As their mathematical discoveries, only members were allowed to attend. They had a secret emblem, the pentagram.
Well, I'll be a frustrated kid.
It was our old friend Pythagoras who discovered that the pentagram was full of mathemagic. The two shorter lines combined exactly equal the third. And this line shows the magic proportions of the famous golden section. The second and third lines exactly equal the fourth. Once again, we have the golden section. But this is only the beginning. Hidden within the pentagram is a secret for creating a golden rectangle, which the Greeks admired for its beautiful proportions and magic qualities. The star contains the golden rectangle many times over. It's a most remarkable shape. It can mathematically reproduce itself indefinitely. All these rectangles have exactly the same proportions. This figure also contains a magic spiral that repeats the proportions of the golden section into infinity. To the Greeks, the golden rectangle represented a mathematical law of beauty. We find it in classical architecture. The Parthenon, perhaps one of the most famous of early Greek buildings, contains many golden rectangles. Same golden proportions are also found in their sculpture. In the centuries that followed, the golden rectangle dominated the idea of beauty in architecture throughout the Western world. The Cathedral of Notre Dame is an outstanding example. The Renaissance painters knew this secret well. Today, the golden rectangle is very much a part of our modern world. Modern painters have rediscovered the magic of these proportions. Indeed, this ideal proportion is to be found in life itself.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is mathematics. I got mathematical figures like that.
Donald.
Get me quiet.
No.
Ideal proportion.
Not quite. No, I'm afraid not. Well, we can't all be mathematically perfect.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I knew I could do it.
Now that you're all pent up in a pentagon, let's see how nature uses this same mathematical form, the petunia, the star jasmine, the starfish, the wax flower, there are literally thousands of members in good standing in nature's Pythagorean Society of the Star. All nature's works have a mathematical logic, and her patterns are limitless. The magic proportions of the golden section are often found in the spirals of nature's designs. The profusion of mathematical forms brings to mind the words of Pythagoras. Everything is arranged according to number and mathematical shape. Yes, there is mathematics in music, in art, in just about everything. And as the Greeks had guessed, the rules are always the same.
Mathematics and music. So that's what you mean when you talked about the harmony of the spheres. Harmony, music, and the mathematics of music? Is that a thing? Yes, Clarence. It's most definitely a thing. And what's more, it's the key to time travel. It's the key to everything. It's the foundation of the theory of everything. The mathematics and physics of sound. Come on, Junior, let's take a walk. So, Professor, if Pythagoras is the father of the mathematics of sound, then is that where we're going with the time machine? Not quite, Clarence. You see, in addition to being a brilliant inventor, your dad had his PhD in theology. What you don't know is that his latest discovery describes the entire Bible as based on the mathematics of sound. According to the most ancient monotheistic writings, that mathematics comes from the voice of God. The voice of God? Really? If I'm hearing you correctly, Professor, whoever wrote the oldest monotheistic text understood the mathematics of sound before Pythagoras, which means that's the guy we're going to visit? The man that history has come to know as the father of monotheism is the biblical prophet Abraham. Unfortunately, there is no archaeological evidence that Abraham ever existed as more than just a character in the Bible. And there's another problem. This ancient text that your dad deciphered over many years was written in a script that's 2,000 years too new. If Abraham actually wrote it, it would have looked much different. Forgive my skepticism, Professor, but it sounds like we're going to visit somebody who might not exist. If I'm going to be behind this 100%, I would like some more details. How did my dad figure out when and where? And what does the Bible have to do with the mathematics of sound anyway? I don't get that at all. I appreciate your skepticism, but thanks to your dad, we know exactly when, well, within 5 years, and we know exactly where. We'll be going back to the city of Harran in southern Turkey, and the time will be 1697 BC. Professor, you said your accuracy was within 5 years, so I'm guessing 1697 is right in the middle. Am I right? You are your father's son. You're exactly right. Just to ease your mind a bit about the danger, I want you to know that your dad and I took a few test drives of the machine we'll be using, and it's accurate and it works fine. So that should ease your mind a bit. To tell you the truth, Professor, I didn't think we were ever coming back, but I couldn't just sit here and not do anything. Now at least I guess we have a fighting chance to make it back and maybe even to find them. Great. It's settled then. Let's start getting ready. We've got a long trip in front of us. We'll meet on the launch pad in an hour. As we take our ship to the launch pad, I want you to take a good look around you and wave goodbye to the familiar, because everything from now on will be like nothing you've ever experienced. Well, here we are. I'm going to set our destination for about 40 years after Abraham left the city of Haran. By this time, Abraham would have been a fully matured prophet in the land of Canaan, and his two sons, Ishmael and Isaac, might be a little younger than you are now. Are you ready, boy? Ready, Professor. Liftoff successful. We're on our way. Okay, Professor. I understand how we're traveling through space. We're going to the Middle East. But how are we traveling through time? Is there some simple way you can explain it to me? Well, Clarence, I can sure try. Einstein's exploration of time and space was realized when your dad created a wormhole in the existing fabric of the universe. His breakthrough came when he discovered an alternate path through time and space via the 6 hidden dimensions of a new theory that scientists call superstring theory. In other words, everyone else was trying to take the main road, but your dad found a detour. Thanks for that, Professor. I certainly appreciate the simplification, but how about some details? How did my father enter the wormhole? Great question. You remember I told you that the mathematics of sound was the key to the theory of everything? Well, the vibrations of sound occur across all 10 dimensions within superstring theory. What that means is that your father had to find a way to access multidimensional geometry through sound. The pioneering work in this field was a German from the 19th century named Bernhard Riemann, who laid the groundwork for Einstein and for string theory. Your dad just took it a step further. How fast will we be going? We'll become supersonic at Mach 1 and hypersonic at Mach 5. At these speeds, the ship's navigation takes over and it's completely automatic pilot, enabling us to sidestep into abstract space. Once inside the wormhole, the rest of the world will still be visible to us, but if we hovered over a spot, a specific geographic location, all we would see is time moving backward. Are we ready? As ready as I'll ever be, Professor. Okay then, here we go. Wow, we made it. Coming in for a landing. What? How is it possible that we're already here? Well, Clarence, the speed of light in a wormhole, that's pretty fast. And we should be in the approximate vicinity of Abraham's tent. Now, Professor, how could you possibly know that? There's still a lot you don't know, Junior. We'll get to it in due time. So you're saying all we have to do to find Abraham is just look around in the immediate vicinity? Actually, Clarence, that sounds about right. Let's get out of the ship and take a look around. Look, Professor, there's a tent right down there. Could that possibly be Abraham? Only one way to find out, Clarence. Let's take a walk. I hear somebody coming, Professor. Listen. Come, Isaac. Come, Ishmael, into the tent, and your father Abraham will teach you about creation. You too, McGann and Clarence. Come inside. Come join us. Professor, how did he even know we were here? Just go with the flow, Junior. The story of creation begins with the first man and woman, Adam and Eve. Eve, look at that tree. That's the forbidden tree. Right. God forbid us to eat the fruit from that tree. What's so special about it? What's special, you say? Come a little closer and take a look. Who or what are you? I'm the master of knowledge of all good and evil. He's no master of knowledge, he's just a serpent. Ah, but you're wrong, my dear. I am the master of knowledge of all good and evil. Behold this wonderful fruit. One bite of this fruit, and you too will be a master of all there is to know in this world. Hold it. Stop the story. Father, that's silly. How could a snake be the master of knowledge? That's a very good question, Isaac. Now, you do realize this is a story. The truth of the matter is, the deeper truth, is that the serpent wiggles. Father, you're just being silly again. How can a wiggling snake lead us to the truth? Yes, Father, please don't play games with us. I really want to know the truth. All right, boys, don't get upset. If it's the truth you want, that's what you'll get. A wiggling serpent symbolizes a vibrating string. Whenever you pluck the string on a harp, it makes a sound. And that string wiggles. You're still not helping me here, Father. We've gone from wiggling serpents to wiggling strings. Are we getting close to the truth? I know it sounds strange, Ishmael, but to know the truth, to be master of the truth, you have to understand vibrating strings. To understand vibrating strings, I really need to retell the creation story from the beginning, before Adam and Eve were created. In the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth, when the earth was astonishingly empty with darkness upon the surface of the deep, and the divine presence hovered upon the surface of the waters, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God called to the light day, and to the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day. God said, "Let the waters beneath the heaven be gathered into one area, and let the dry land appear." God called to the dry land earth, and to the gathering of waters he called seas. God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, herbage yielding seed, fruit trees yielding fruit, each after its own kind, containing its own seed on the earth." And it was so. God said, "Let there be luminaries in the firmament of the heaven, to separate between the day and the night, and they shall serve as signs, and for festivals, and for days and years." God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures, each according to its kind, animal and creeping thing, and beast of the land, each according to its kind." And it was so. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. They shall rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over the animal, the whole earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created man in his image. Thus the heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. God blessed the seventh and sanctified it, because on it he abstained from all his work which God created to make.